Hello, 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 everyone. And guys, please we're going to run this a little bit like we run our webinars in our online program. So the best way to chat with me is through the chat box, and I'll keep an eye on that as we go throughout tonight's webinar. And please, if you keep yourselves muted, just so we don't hear anyone's dogs or TVs in the background. But if you're feeling brave, we're a total judgment-free zone, so I do love to see your faces and connect with you that way. So if you're feeling brave, please turn your screen on. Oh, there's a few little screens. Hello. How are we all doing tonight? Please jump in the chat box and show us, tell us how you're doing. Oh, there's a few more brave people. I love that. Tell us where you're from. And tonight's going to be a really interesting webinar because I've done a lot of webinars and so many of them I've done several times before, but this one's brand new. So we're all going to kind of go on a journey together. You doing good, Michelle? From Rocky. I spent a New Year's Eve in Rocky one time. It was quite an eye-opener. Oh, yep, Paula from Brizzy. We got a few Brisbaneites, Hilary and Lisa. G'day Adele all the way from Perth. Anne-Maree, g'day from northwestern Tasmania. Look at this. Rock and roll. Hello, Heather. Hello, Georgina. A Melbourneite in there. We got people from all over, mainly Aussies, which is really, really cool. All right, so let me share my screen and we'll get into it. Now, I always check because I'm a technological nuffy. Everyone see my screen? Nothing weird in there, rock and roll. So yeah, today we're going to talk about 10 habits to totally transform your life. The first thing I want to say is welcome. There are plenty of things that you could be doing on this Thursday night, and you've already shown a commitment to your change. And as we all know, change requires some challenge, some discomfort, some difficulty, some effort. So good on you for making the effort to be here tonight. And we do have, this has actually been quite a popular webinar, which is really, really cool. We do have a lot of people who couldn't make it tonight, but are watching in their own time. So welcome to you guys over the Wi-Fi. Rock and roll. Tim's in Melbourne Naarm, got the camera off and just walking and listening. So Tim, for you, I will have some, I've got slides up on the screen, but we're going to send everybody this recording afterwards so you can access all of that as well. So in case you don't know me, a brief introduction. My name is Glenn Mackintosh, and I'm a psychologist. I'm the clinical director here at Weight Management. I'm really interested in extending my messages beyond the therapy room. So I've been running online programs for 13 years now. And for the last 5 years, that's been in the form of a membership program called the Transformation Support Community. And I do like to also do some public work. I've written a book, I've done some TV, but of late, the last probably 4 or 5 years, I've really been focusing in on the clinic and the online community and supporting our people more so than doing the public stuff. So what are we going to do today? Of course, we're going to focus on these 10 transformational habits. But I want to do that in the context of showing you how these habits came about. Because I've been doing a project for the last 18 months that's required me to think of what are my 10 habits that I'm most working on with my clients that I would, if I just had one person, I could get them to change 10 things to help them have the most awesome life, what would they be? Okay. I'm just seeing that got a little message that maybe my internet is a little unstable. So let me just check that I don't have anything else that's going to suck the juice of the internet. And hopefully that will resolve the problem. This feels a little bit like when I'm doing my sessions with clients and I have 500 tabs open. And if I close a few, then we can have better conversations. How is it at the moment, Nick? Good? All right. We'll say a little prayer to the internet gods and we'll keep going. All right. Okay, yes. So, thanks for that, Nick. I appreciate that, mate. Yes, so I want to talk to you about these habits in the context of the program in which they were developed. So the name of that program is called the 90-Day Transformation Challenge. And I want to tell you a bit about why we created the challenge. And I also want to talk to you about what the challenge is, and just as importantly, maybe more importantly, what it's not. And that will then give you a bit of an understanding of how and why we created these habits. Then we're going to get into these 10 transformation habits, and we're going to talk about them. And then I'm going to give you a tip or two on how you can achieve each one. One of the cool things that that has sort of eventuated from us, being in the public space and having like a YouTube channel and a podcast and all that sort of stuff, is that we've got a whole bunch of free resources that we've accumulated. So as I was sort of putting together this presentation, I lied to you. I told you I was going to give you a free gift, but I'm actually going to give you a bunch of free gifts. And Mr. Nick, who runs our online community, say hello, Mr. Nick. His fingers will be at the ready because he's going to share a whole bunch of links with you in the chat box. But if you miss any of those links, again, don't worry about it, because in a couple of days, I'm going to send you an email and it will have all these links in there. The other thing is as well, if you're watching this, we're going to put this on our YouTube and our website. All the links will be right there for you. So don't stress too much about that. So a whole bunch of videos, PDFs, follow along relaxation sessions that you can just jump into at your leisure. And then I am going to share with you finally the newest gift, which is this daily transformations journal, where if you like the idea of implementing these habits or some of them, you can just track them in a really, really simple way. And then I will absolutely invite you to do the 90-Day Transformation Challenge with me. It starts on June 2, so just over a week away. And what I think if you're the sort of person that can just take a little bit of information in, run with it really independently, you don't need any support, then you can just take the information out of this webinar and you're right to go. Most people aren't built that way. So if you need a little bit more support, then I'm absolutely hoping that you will still get something and maybe a couple of things out of tonight's webinar. But I will invite you at the end to join our 90-day challenge, because that's where we can really support you over the course of 13 weeks to actually really implement all this stuff in a much more detailed way. Okay, so Paula said, apologies for being late. No worries, Paula. You've come in at just the right time. We're just about to get into the good stuff. Um, okay, so why did we create a challenge like this? So a lot of the work we do is working on the background psychology that helps people have better results with things like eating, physical activity, weight, body image. So we're working on things like, say, with eating, your emotional relationship with food, or with exercise, how confident you feel about exercise or your attitude towards it. So we're often working on that psychology in the background, which we feel is the missing piece, and then that then flows into behavior changes because people find that the behavior is easier to do and easier to make habitual over time. But in our online community, well, it's a really cool program. We actually co-create the whole program with the members. Um, and so this was about 18 months ago. They said, look, what we want is an actual challenge, or they didn't use the word challenge, but they said we want something where we can change where the rubber hits the road. It's like all this psychology stuff is really helpful, but we want something that's actually just about the changes themselves. So we started to look at what these main habits are that we want to implement. And really, this work, compared to a lot of our other work, is very light on theory and it's heavy on impact, on making change. So I'm not going to go through a whole lot of background theory on anything. I figure these 10 habits, they're going to be like, you'll see when we get to them, they're actually, all of them are pretty simple. So I'm not going to really over explain any of this. I'd rather us focus on how we can actually implement them. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So again, I am going to talk a fair bit about our challenge, but even if you don't end up doing the challenge with us, uh, I think you can take the principles of the way we're doing things into your own personal transformation. Oh, Hilary said, what is the TSC? Yes, the TSC is our loving acronym for our online program, the Transformation Support Community. Us psychologists, we love a good acronym or two. So yes, that's the TSC. Okay, so this is I think this is really interesting. Hope you do. The challenge isn't a quick fix. You know, when we think 90 days, when we think 12 weeks, there is that tendency to have some short-term results that then they all just go backwards. Who's ever kind of experienced that? You've had, a period of short-term results and then things have just gone back the other way. Yep, a couple of hands up. Okay, so what we're doing here with this challenge is we're using some of the most cutting edge neuroscience to help you change your brain as you change your body. And we actually explain that neuroscience to you and what's happening in your brain when you do certain parts of the challenge. Um, then it's psychology based. And we think that the psychology is really the missing bit of the puzzle. It's not just about doing certain behaviors, it's about thinking about those behaviors in a certain way that you want to do them for the long term. And then it's based on a habits framework. So often we talk about habits, but what we're actually doing in, like, say, a normal gym 12-week challenge is just about getting short-term results, and it's not actually about creating habits at all. So I'm going to show you how you can actually create habits right now. It's actually super duper duper simple. So these are some of the differences, I suppose, between our challenge and other things and why we think it works better, especially in the long term. And again, we would love you to join us for this challenge. But also, if you don't, then you can apply these principles to your own transformation, just in a way that's right for you. So I'll talk about weight management for a little bit because some of the primary habits research has been done in weight management. And so researchers talk about this, we call it the Nike swoosh of weight loss, where most people lose a bit of weight and then they regain that weight with interest. And this is a Nike swoosh when people do a low calorie diet versus a very low calorie diet. It's very similar type of a swoosh. This is a Nike swoosh if people do a shorter program versus a longer weight loss program, but still a swoosh. Extending the program just makes the swoosh a little bit longer. Again, we see a different shape swoosh if we add exercise to a diet program, but it's still a Nike swoosh. And we even see the same thing with weight loss medications. When people go off the medications, then they get that regain in weight. So I started becoming very interested in habits research after one of my colleagues, Dr. Gina Cleo, who's our resident habits guru in the program, published some research. So if we look at this research here, this fascinated me. This is what started me getting really interested in habits. And let's look at the blue line, because the blue line represents a program called the 10 Top Tips. That 10's an important word. And something really interesting happened. This little line here up until the first little section of the line is during the program, and you can see that people lost weight. But what we can see here, which is for me the fascinating part, is that when people finished the program, they actually continued to lose weight. And so that suggests they're actually changing habits for the longer term, and it's very different to that Nike swoosh. So this is what got me really, really interested in not only psychology, I was already interested in that for 10 years before that, but in habits and neuroscience. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So if we look at these 10 top tips that were in that blue line, the blue ones are about a negative energy balance. The green one is about promoting like a regular routine. And there are 2 purple ones that are about being more aware. So when I look at this coming from a sort of a non-diet perspective, this feels too diety for me, too body focused. And so what I wanted to do is not create a body transformation challenge, but actually to create a more holistic program that uses the research from these 10 top tips, but actually creates a more holistic program. And so the key take home, if you want to do your own 10 top tips challenge and choose your own habits, is that all the people in the program were encouraged to do was to try and do as many of these things as they could every day, knowing that they would definitely not do all of them every day, but do as many of them as they could every day. Because what that did was that built up that neural circuitry, that familiarity, that habit loop with these routines. So even if they missed a bunch of days, every time they did these habits, they're building that neural circuitry. So what we do in our challenge, and this is what I would encourage you to do if you want to create some healthier habits for yourself, is just be a little bit more holistic with it. So in our work, we focus on nutrition, obviously. We also focus on movement, again, pretty obvious one. But we actually have quite a significant mindset component because we, being psychologists, know that your mindset is actually really a huge determinant of how good you feel or not just your eating and your exercise. And even it's an important determinant of how physically healthy you are as well. And then we have a rest component in there as well. So we're trying to create a more balanced type of approach in our habits. And like we said, we're working towards not just a body transformation, but a total transformation, mind, body, and even spirit, if you will. And guys, I will, as we go, welcome any questions or any thoughts on things as we travel along too. What we do is not a cookie cutter approach. There is some structure to it, but I found this image on the internet recently, and I really liked it because it was just a bunch of different cookie cutters, and I think that's what we do. Is thank goodness there are common themes that help us to support people, but everyone is also a little bit different. So we make room for that in this approach. And I'm going to, as I talk you through the 10 habits, I will suggest some different ways for you to achieve those habits. And then it's really just a matter of you listening to yourself and choosing what works for you. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into these habits. And as you'll see, most of them are really, really simple. So I'm not going to explain them to you in a great detail. The ones that might be a little bit new, I will explain in a little bit more detail. Guys, too, I have to tell you, someone asked me once whether I'm drinking like a wine or a rum. I'm drinking Diet Coke. So just so you know. Oh, that stings, that Diet Coke. No, just joking. Okay, so the 10 habits, not surprising, the first one is just eating regularly. So we do find that people who eat nutritiously, they tend to eat fairly regularly. And our recommendation is 3 to 5 times per day. So very, very simple. Um, you might have heard that you have to eat 5 times a day, or if you're doing lots of training, 6 or 7 times a day. But really, the research tells us between 3 and 5. So again, there's a recommendation there, but quite a bit of flexibility. So a couple of ways um, to achieve eating regularly. One is you can actually eat not in a rigidly timed way, but just practice eating to a particular time. And then that becomes more habitual over time. Or you can practice intuitive eating, where you're listening to your hunger and fullness and not using that external cue like the time clock, but using an internal cue, like your hunger and fullness. So Mr. Nick will link you to a particular journal that we have called a mindful intuitive eating journal. And here it is. So this is a great tool for awareness of your eating, and you're really noticing why you feel like eating. Then you're noticing your hunger and fullness. So we generally say, and there's a key to this on the back, so you can actually check in with yourself and measure it against the key. We say you want to start eating when you're about a 3 or a 4, and then you want to stop eating when you're about a 6 or a 7. So a 3 or a 4 is where you're starting to feel hunger. 4 is where you're starting to feel hunger. 3 is you're really feeling it. That's, when your hunger starts, that's a cue to start eating. And then as you, get to a 6 is where you start to feel fullness. That starts to become when you start to feel full, that can be your cue to stop. So often we recommend people either start with timed eating or an intuitive eating awareness journal. And sometimes if you're not quite sure about like your hunger and fullness, and your eating is a bit all over the place, it can actually be better to start with timed eating first, so you can then get your body signals working really, really well, and then go from there. So that's the first tip, is just eating regularly. Really, really simple. But something that we really forms a basis of good nutritious eating. Now I'm just checking George's note. I'm 27 weeks pregnant. Congratulations, Georgina. I'm being diagnosed with GD. I'm not sure what GD is. If you can maybe let me a little bit more. Any tips? And feel free to share with me a little bit more. But I'm also thinking that possibly might be a little bit too individual for what we're talking tonight. But feel free to keep talking to me about it. And again, what I would encourage you to do is take these ideas in a way that is right for you. There might be some habits that you're already nailing and you can just kind of pat yourself on the back, and there might be some that you want to focus on more. Gestational diabetes, of course. Look, Georgina, that's a really specific issue, and I feel as though I wouldn't want to give you too specific advice um, just in like the online format, especially in a public format. The only thing that I would say is that sometimes people who get gestational diabetes, if they have weight concerns, they can become really anxious and worried about their health and their weight trajectory. And I would say which is easier said than done, to do my best to relax about this process, because this is a short period of time. Follow the doctor's orders, knowing that this has a definite start date and a definite end date. And then really what happens during this period in terms of your eating, your weight, your body shape doesn't really matter. What happens between pregnancies is much more important for your health, if that makes sense. Hopefully that helps. Okay, habit number 2 is fitness, cardiovascular fitness in particular. So our recommendation for fitness is just to do but 2 to 3 sessions of cardiovascular activity every week. And that can be absolutely anything. In our online program, this is our body positive exercise physiologist, Sarah Liz King. She has 3 different cardio at home workouts, so like a beginner one, an intermediate, and an advanced. So our members, we encourage them to do them, but it's really whatever you want. I'd like to maybe hear in the chat box, who does cardiovascular activity? What do you do? What do you like doing? Shell likes to walk. Walking's so good. It's so accessible for most people. Lisa does some PT and some swimming, some more walking. Sonia says, only when I cycle. Some more walking and boxing. I'm with you, Tamara. Boxing is the best way to relieve stress. So we've got yoga, Pilates. Yeah. We got a whole bunch of things. And so that's what, if I'm working with a client, or if they're working in a program like the one where we've got upcoming, it's really just about tuning into yourself and doing what works for you. Mr. Nick will link you to a little 10-minute mobility workout with Sarah. And that can be a really good thing to do before any type of cardiovascular activity. Especially if you experience a bit of discomfort, it can help to free you up and make the exercise more enjoyable. And the biggest psychological indicator of whether we will keep doing exercise is whether we enjoy it or not. We've got some great activities here. Okay, let's get to habit number 3, which is a mindset habit, which is gratitude. So when I was creating this program, I had to really whittle down my favorite mindsets into my top 3. And the first one that came to my mind is gratitude. And why gratitude? Well, I think that, if you ask most people what they want deep down, most people will say they want to be happy. And gratitude is the closest correlate to happiness that we know of. So the most closely related thing to your happiness is not how much money you make or how attractive you are or what type of job you have. but how grateful you are for what you already have. This particular study shows that 39%, so almost half or over a third of how happy we are can be explained by how grateful we are. So we recommend that people practice gratitude as often as you can, up to daily. And the ways to do that are simply to do a little gratitude journal where you're journaling what you're grateful for each day, or a gratitude list where you're just listing it out. It's really, really simple, but can be really, really life changing. Tracy said, I was given a gratitude diary recently as a birthday gift. A great way of lifting my own spirits. Fantastic. It doesn't require you to do much apart from just connect with what there is to be grateful for. Right, Tamara writes in it for bed. Yeah, love that. G'day, Sebastian. It says, strength resistance training. I might actually answer that when I get to one of the mindsets, Sebastian, about strength. And I'll weave it into there.
That's fine. Thank you, Glenn.
Number 4 is relaxation. And we take a very broad definition of relaxation, being relaxation is anything that relaxes you. So very broad, whether that's actually formal relaxation or meditation or going for a relaxing walk or reading a book, whatever it is. We recommend having some type, even if it's short, every day. And Mr. Nick, whose fingers are very much at the ready, will link you to this is Emma Furner, who is one of our psychologists, and she also does a series in our transformation support community called The Deeper Work. And she has these beautiful body scans in the program, which are deeply relaxing. I think there's a 4-minute one, a 6-minute one, a 12-minute one, and a 21-minute one. But one of them is just available to you as a little gift. It's just the whole audio recording. And so if you're not sure about what to do to relax, you can just go and listen to that. Okay. Number 5 is, once we've got that basis of eating regularly, is actually about giving your body more nourishment. Now, that can be obviously a lot of things. In our program to simplify things, we are talking about either eating more vegetables, 5 serves of vegetables per day, or eating more protein, 5 serves of protein per day. Obviously, both of those things are great things to do, but we are big fans of taking small steps and not overwhelming ourselves. So what we encourage people to do is to choose one, whichever they would prefer, whichever they think is going to be more bang for buck for them, and do that until it becomes habitual, then move on to the next one. I've got some nice relaxation in there from Michelle. Does Yin Yoga. Beautiful. With the sound therapy. Yeah, I love that. The Yin Yoga is so relaxing. And then you add, I've done it only once with the sound therapy, and it really does, doesn't it, Michelle? It adds a really it sort of relaxes you on another level in my experience, my very limited experience. Okay, so with the nutrition, and again, Mr. Nick isn't getting much relaxation today. Normally, Nick does all the webinars in our online programs. He's going to do all the webinars in the challenge, and there might be 1 or 2 little links he shares, but today he's really running hot. So he's going to link you to a little resource that comes from the nutrition component in our online program. And it's just a little simple PDF that can help you to build a breakfast that's high in protein. So you just choose what you'd like to make. The second page is you create your own breakfast options. Very, very simple. And there's even a couple of examples for if you're not super creative, you can just use those. Number 6, strength. Here we go. So we recommend that people do strength training, again, any type of strength training, 1 to 2 times per week. And again, in our program, Sarah Liz King, our body positive exercise physiologist, she has a sort of a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced. And the beginners are really, really easy. And the advanced, I think the beginners might be about 10 to 15 minutes long, and the advanced is about 35 minutes long. So again, would love to hear what type of strength training people enjoy, because that's one option. But what we really want to encourage you to do is just connect with what works for you as a unique individual. Georgina's doing the weights. Love it. Now, let me get to your question, Sebastian. Strength/resistance training recommended to force the body to lose fat and preserve muscle when we're in calorie deficit. What are your thoughts about this? Thanks in advance. Yeah, it's a really interesting one because, Sebastian, from a like a physiological point of view, I think that makes sense. Where you're building your base metabolic rate, you're preventing the fat-free mass loss that can happen if you're in a calorie deficit. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. One interesting thing is we work with a lot of people who have a history of yo-yo dieting. And I wrote about this in my book, so I can't talk about it at length now, but one of the simplest ways I would say that is that for a lot of people, especially if you've struggled with weight loss before, focusing on weight loss actually undermines your ability to change long term. It can get you thinking about exercise as a punishment for being too fat, or starving yourself versus nourishing yourself. And so while a lot of the people who join our programs want to lose weight, kind of paradoxically, and this is part of the reason why we made this a very holistic program, the program's not actually a weight loss program. The whole approach we take is a more holistic general health and well-being program. And that was the same as what happened in Gina Cleo's 10 top tips. Even though those tips were, I think, more weight focused, they were encouraged to view it as an overall health program. But I think that's the kind of approach that we tend to take.
Thank you, Glenn.
You're welcome, mate. Paula said, I've had chronic illness, trying to find activity that I can do. Yeah. And it's, Paula, that can be obviously a really significant challenge. Sarah Liz King in our program does 2 sessions on chronic pain and chronic conditions and how to move with them, which could be really, really beneficial. And if you do want to, like, say, if you don't want to join our program, you can sign up, and there's a 7-day free trial. So you could sign up, find that Sarah Liz King's videos on moving with chronic pain, and then just bounce out of there if you really wanted to. Cindy likes doing body weight. Exercise like sit to stand, bridges. Yeah, fantastic. Can do it anywhere. Oh, and Anne-Maree had a suggestion for Paula, which could be something to look up, the Tai Chi. Okay, mindset 7, optimism. Oh, sorry, habit 7, which is a mindset habit, optimism. So this is the second of my 3 mindsets that I wanted to include in the program. And optimism, admittedly, is my favorite old friend. It's my favorite personal and professional favorite mindset. And I think a big part of that reason is because I am a health psychologist. My background is in helping people become healthier physically. And if we just look at this list, of course, there's a whole lot of psychological benefits to practicing optimism, but there's also a whole bunch of physical benefits. So being optimistic is actually directly linked with being healthier. Pretty cool. Our recommendation is that you can practice, obviously, optimism as often as you'd like, but the research on optimism tells us that optimism really comes into its own when bad things happen. So we actually sort of almost recommend that you formally practice optimism 2 to 3 times a week when bad things happen. Obviously, your bad is a perception, but when you feel like something bad has happened. So actually, Mr. Nick, as a little bonus, we might link people to our optimism blog, and I talk about this in a bit more detail there if you want to learn a bit more about optimism. But and we actually, in the program, we encourage people to do it through 2 techniques. One is called an ABCDE, which is a thought reframing tool. And this is something that I will talk you through that we call the 3 Ps of optimism. So, and this is just you can do this as a formal exercise, and we have worksheets for it. But even just understanding the principles can really help. So basically, when bad things happen, pessimists tend to view them through these 3 Ps. They tend to view them as they're personal. It's like, oh, this is about my own shortcomings. They tend to see them as pervasive. So it's like, oh, it's not just this one area of life. This is like my whole life is over. It's, it's kind of bleeds into the other areas. And they tend to see them as more permanent. Like, oh, bad things always happen to me, or this one problem means that it's going to really have this domino effect and continue to impact my life. Whereas optimists tend to be low on personalization. They tend to see it as less personal, might be about other people or the situation. They tend to see bad things as more specific. So it's like, well, that sucked, but that doesn't mean everything sucks. And they tend to see them as more transitory. Wow, that sucked, but I will get over it. And so it's a really good little model that you can follow just for yourself, as if something bad happens, catch yourself and see if you're falling too far into those 3 Ps. And if so, see if you can move to a more impersonal, specific, transitory way of seeing the problem. So again, we could obviously talk about this for hours, and in the program we do this, we spend a whole webinar on this, but the idea can be just really helpful anyway. Number 8, sleep. When you sleep better, everything is better. We recommend 7 to 8.5 hours. So very, very simple, and also trying to get similar sleep and wake times. So you want that to be as consistent as is reasonable during the week. And in our program, we do link you to, this is Gina Cleo, who is the habits researcher and our resident habits guru. She does a whole webinar on sleep that we're going to link our members to, where she shares her favorite tips on it. Yeah, Sebastian said avoid caffeine after mid-morning, and that's one of Gina's tips. It's really interesting because people's sensitivity to caffeine, there's lots of individual variability, the way in which we metabolize caffeine. So again, it does come down to a bit of a listen to yourself, because some people can have a little bit more caffeine a little bit later and it doesn't tend to affect them, whereas some people it's like only a little bit and really early and it does affect them. But that's definitely one of the tips. The 9th habit is about hydration. And so there we're talking about water. Our recommendation is 2 to 2.5 liters per day. Caffeine, our recommendation is up to 400 milligrams of caffeine, which is roughly 4 cups of coffee or 8 cups of tea. And then up to 4 standard drinks in one day, with no more than 10 in the week. So we're basically just really with these just using the Australian health guidelines, but they're our recommendations. And again, I would suggest you do if you want to focus on your hydration, and what we do in the challenge is we ask people to choose one. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves by focusing on too much. So if you're thinking about, I want to improve my hydration, I would encourage you to think about, well, which one of those is most bang for buck for me, and then focus on that. And then when that becomes habitual, then you move on to the next one. Number 10 is kindness. The technique, we recommend trying to be as kind as you can. And the technique that's actually looked at in the research is called counting kindness. And it's so simple. You just aim to be as kind as often as you can, up to like daily or more. And when you do, you actually write it down to make sure you're acknowledging it. And that the research shows that it can help us feel better. I mean, it's interesting because, again, there's the research and then there's our, what we know. The research tells us that practicing kindness for a week, just 1 week, and counting our kindness makes us happier, more engaged with life, more connected with other people. It actually helps us feel more accomplished and as though life is more meaningful, which is, pretty cool because they're pretty understandable because I think, helping other people is meaningful. But I actually think that, often if you've ever had, I'm sure you have had experiences of being kind, just one makes you feel better straight away. Tracy asked, Glenn, do you mean kindness to oneself or others? Really interesting one. In this particular situation, what we're actually talking about is about kindness to other people. But if we get a little bit more specific, counting kindness is actually about you're aiming to be kinder to other people, but you're actually counting when you're kind to other people or when they're kind to you, because we want to be as kinder, but we also want to be more open to people being kind to us. But in this situation, and we're going to be talking a lot about kindness to ourselves as we go through the process of the challenge, and I talk about that with my clients all the time. But in this situation, we're definitely talking about we're talking about kindness to other people. Yeah, Hilary said finding hydrated is difficult after bariatric surgery, and you can't drink. She can't drink 30 minutes either side of meals. So it's really, really challenging. Yeah, so there could be obviously Hilary, some special considerations for you, maybe electrolyte water or making sure you're getting enough hydration through your food, but it is absolutely a challenge. We have at the clinic, and even in our online program, I'd say about 30 to 40% of our clients and our online program members are somewhere on the bariatric journey. So it's definitely not, our programs are not just for people on the bariatric journey, but we do see a lot of people on that journey. And then the final habit, because I wanted to sneak one more in, is not a habit at all, but it's practicing freedom from a habit. So what we encourage you to do is to choose one particular habit, and often that will come to you relatively quickly after a few minutes reflection, and aim to stop doing that habit, because obviously being healthy is a lot about what we do, but it's also about what we don't do. So I have decided, as I've been putting this 90-day challenge together, that I'm going to do it with the members, and I'm going to focus on screen time, reducing my screen time, which is going to be challenging for me. Some of our other members, because everyone who's in our transformation support community is going to do this program as well. Some of our other members are already, getting ready for it, and they're choosing things like emotional eating. One person chose complaining and gossiping, which I thought was a great habit to choose. But there it's, about listening to yourself and thinking, what do I want to be free from? Ah, look at that. And Michelle said, I've given up alcohol, 44 days sober. Congratulations, Michelle. So that's, and I'm, without knowing too much about you, Michelle, my guess is that will be as transformational for you as creating some other healthier habits, maybe even more. Really, really cool. Yeah, Michelle said 100%. Okay, the other thing our challenge is not, because we did call it a challenge based on what our members wanted, and we're like, this is a challenge, really. But then our members are like, oh my goodness, it's not going to be like a competition. And I'm like, no, guys, we in our whole community, we've never done a competition. Our whole program, everything we do is about collaboration. It's about supporting each other. There is going to be no like most transformed or public sharing of results or any of that stuff that you see in some of those other programs. Okay, good one, Sebastian. It said, from a physiology perspective, how long could it take to change a habit on average? So this is a really interesting one. The research on, from psychology, the research on habits, diet and exercise habits, so eating and movement habits, is between 18 and 254 days. So it's a huge, huge range. It depends on the complexity of the new habit that you're trying to create. It depends on the strength of old habits you got to break. So there's a whole bunch of various factors. So it's really, really very variable. But what we find is if we keep with the process, then it happens over time. We don't know how long that is. Could be anywhere between 18 and 254 days, but it happens over time. So what we're hoping in this 90-day challenge is that we will have established some new habits. It's long enough to establish some new habits, and then other ones will be on the way. Okay, so let me talk to you about what our little program is. It's guidance and support to implement these habits. So if you want to take, I hope that exploring these habits has been valuable. If you would like support to implement them, then we'd love to support you. Gina Cleo's research actually says, which I find fascinating, that getting support for your habits doubles your chances of success. We do pre and post measures of your fitness, your strength, so you can see your gains. And also we measure your level of gratitude, your optimism, and your kindness. And it's really cool. We always do this in most of our programs. The last program that we did was about meaning and purpose in life. And we measure it on a scientific scale and see, okay, my meaning and purpose was 84 out of 140. And then I finished the program and now it's 115 out of 140. So you will actually be able to measure your mindset changes. I mean, you'll feel them, but you're actually able to measure them too. And then all of these supplementary resources. So really our program, it is about, we're going to spend the sessions looking at changing these 10 habits. And then you will have all these supplementary resources, like some of the things that we've worked through now, all of the stuff from our online program, just as support if you want it. And it will really be a personal journey. Each member will be supported and there'll be a supportive structure to the series, but it is a journey that everyone will take. Oh, and here's your last little free gift. And Mr. Nick will link you to it. And this is the Daily Transformations Diary. This is the one we're doing in the challenge, but it's yours for free. And this is what we'll be encouraging our members to do pretty much every day. So it's got the tick boxes for eating your 3 to 5 meals, having your protein or your veggies, having each of those hydration ones is for, it's going to be different if it's alcohol, caffeine, or water that you choose. And then, did I do my cardio or my strength? Have I done any of my mindset work? And there's some notes to actually include what you're grateful for, any kindness, so you can count your kindness, any positive thoughts for the day. And then, did I practice relaxation? How did my sleep go? When did I get to bed? When did I wake up? and did I succeed in freeing myself from the old habit that I wanted to work on? So guys, that's there for you. Mr. Nick has linked it in the chat box, and otherwise it will be in your notes as well. And I'd really love for you to give it a crack and see how you go. It's really, really simple. But of course, sometimes simple is still challenging to achieve. Michelle said, how many times a week should we be strength training? Look, Michelle, I try to stay away from words like should, must, ought to, have to. But our recommendation is just once to twice a week. But of course, there will be lots of variety in that. Ah, Cindy, I'm glad you think it's a great tool. Yeah, we think it's really, really cool. Super simple. But it's a cool little tool. So please give it a crack and let us know how you go with it. Yeah, simple's good. One of my psychology mentors, and this is the core of everything we do in the clinic and in our programs. He said that life is complicated enough. You don't need a complicated challenge. You don't need a complicated change process. Paula said, I heard you use EFT, emotional freedom techniques. Do you still use it? 100% still use EFT. And we, depending on but there's a bit of flexibility built into this challenge. We may even do a little bit of EFT in the session about breaking habits. So let me just quickly talk you through what we're doing in the challenge. So 13 weeks, and one of the key components of it is these 13 webinars. So like tonight, we do an hour-long webinar. We probably spend a lot more time sort of kicking around ideas and interacting. But the first one of them is and look, much like tonight as well, you can attend live, or poor Mr. Nick, we do them on a Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Nick stays up because we do know that our members, they actually really like to watch them. They like to have them up really quickly. So we put them up the night that they're recorded. So you can watch them live, or you can watch them in your own time. First session is a bit like this session. It's a bit of a setup for the program. And then we spend a session working on each of the transformation habits. So you're encouraged to do them from the very start, from the first session, but then we delve into each one, we workshop, we troubleshoot, and it's really about application. It's not about information. It's about, you already know this stuff is good for you. It's about transformation. How do you do it? So again, working through these mindsets, then the sneaky extra mindset, through the habits, the sneaky extra habit of letting go of a habit that you want to. And then we have a little wrap up. Oh, actually, that wrap up, I've made a mistake there. It should say Q&A. I'll make a little note there. And so we do all of these weekly webinars, and then there's access to this kind of treasure trove of resources within our transformation support community. So all of the members of our transformation support community program, our existing members, have access to this program, and they're going to do it. But you can also just join this program as an individual program, and then you get access for that time period to all of the transformation support community. So everyone's doing the same thing. And Paula said, my issue is overcoming cravings. Yeah, not sure of the question I'm trying to ask. And I think that, Paula, for most people, that freedom from habits that don't serve you session will really be about overcoming urges and impulses and cravings. Because whatever that thing is, whether it's food or whether it's a screen or some other impulse, there's an urge, an impulse, or a craving that we have to get over before we can really let go of that habit. Oh, yep. T.N. Garrett says, I'm interested in accessing your hypnosis series also. what is the best way to access both the 90-day transformation and the hypnosis resources? Is it the TSC membership? It totally is. So I'll actually talk you through that now. And Mr. Nick, maybe you could link everybody. Nick, if you could link people to the challenge, there's a page for the challenge. And if you could also link them to the transformation support community, and then you can really join through either, and it is kind of much of a muchness. I'll talk you through the differences. And TN, I'd love to know your first name if I can, then I could speak to you more personally. But I'll explain that right now. So yeah, you get access if you just either way, whether you join through the TSC or you just join for this series, you get access to the transformation support community. So there is so much in the TSC that can help you, but really some of the most important parts for this challenge is our private support group. So we have a Facebook group that has me in it, that has Courtney, who's a non-diet dietitian, and we also have a psychologist in there. So we've got a psychologist and a dietitian in there 5 days a week, and then I'm in there as well. And it's just a beautiful, special group. It's like we think of the TSC as like big group therapy. So it's really, it's a very, very special group that nurtures without judging, and it's just so mindful, and it's a beautiful, beautiful group. We have obviously all of Sarah Liz King's workouts. So her 3 cardio workouts of different levels, her 3 strength workouts of different levels. So if you want to do them at home, and it's all designed for people of all sizes and all ability levels. So that's obviously a really key thing. It's in a section of our program called the Everybody Movement, because it's for everybody. And that's Sarah Liz King's jam. So we've got them there. We've got all these treasure trove of webinars that we will direct you to. Say, for example, we'll probably direct you to the tapping. We have Peter Stapleton, who's probably the world's leading tapping guru for food cravings. We have 8 sessions in the TSC where she takes you through tapping. In the session on breaking habits, Dr. Gina Cleo has some really she has a whole session on masterclass on breaking habits. So what we're going to do is we're not going, all of that stuff is there for pre-reading or for post-reading if you want to delve deeper into it. And then we're going to really, in the sessions, really go where the rubber hits the road and help you turn that information into transformation. And my 90-day hypnotherapy program, called the 90-day transformation, because I couldn't help myself but name it that way. I didn't design the 90-day transformation challenge and the 90-day transformation hypnotherapy program to go together, but they do just fit together like a glove. So if you join through the challenge, then you have access to this for the 90 days. If you join through the membership community, you have access to this and all of the other transformation support community stuff for as long as you want. Oh, see you, Sebastian. You're very welcome. Thanks for being a part of it. So if you add all of this up, the total value of it is well over $1,000. Like, you've got these weekly webinars with me, all the support from the online community. And the cost of it is actually less than one psychology session with me. So we reckon it's really good value for people. And we would love to, I hope tonight has been valuable for you. And I will stick around for if there's any more questions. But really, I want to say that if you would like some support to implement this stuff, and I really do treat members of our online programs just like my clients, we really want to, help you to change. And it's where some of that clinical magic comes out. I do a bit of presenting, and then we spend half the session or 2/3 of the session just kicking around ideas, and it's really, really helpful. So the program starts June 2. We do limit the amount of places available. So there's 12 spots left at the moment. Mr. Nick, I think maybe if you could just link to, just see whether if we've linked to the program and the challenge and the TSC. So the way you save your spot is you just register. And really the two ways for it is you can register if you do it as a one-off program. We have the early bird for that program finishing this Monday. So Sunday it'll finish. But you can, like, if you sign up on Sunday, you'll still get it type thing. So that's $249, or you can do it via a payment plan, and that gives you the 90-day access. Or it's funny because we designed it so you could do it as a one-off because people wanted that. But actually more people are still signing up to our usual TSC membership, which is $89.95 a month, and then you can access it for as long as you want. That there is a 7-day trial. So if you do sign up, you're basically, starting to pay for it around about when the program starts. And then you would probably then be doing 4 months. But we do find a lot of our members like an extra couple of weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, just to kind of tidy up all the loose ends. We do want to challenge ourselves and we do want to change some habits, but most of us don't do it perfectly. So an extra little bit of time often helps us to do that. So guys, thank you for your attention. A couple of FAQs. People asked, do I have to go to the webinars live? No, just like tonight, you can attend live, you can interact, or you can just watch in your own time. If you watch in your own time, you can still send me questions, and you can still, I can still support you in the Facebook group. And then some people ask, okay, what if I want to sign up via the TSC option? Is it, am I locked in for a certain amount of time or anything? And it's just a month-to-month subscription. You're not locked into anything. You can start whenever you want and you can finish whenever you want. So guys, thank you for being with me. And this really has been a little bit like one of our transformation support community webinars, because I admittedly sometimes do go a little bit over time. So thank you so much, guys, for still being with me. And thanks for a great little session. I will just check if there's any other little questions I've missed. And if thanks for your nice words, guys. TN, I hope I have answered your question, but yeah, it is the best way to access the hypnosis and the 90-day challenge is through the TSC membership. Thanks for your lovely words, guys. It's it's always interesting when I'm doing, like I said, a presentation that I've never done before. And I think it's been a really good one. And that's thanks to you. I definitely, appreciate your openness to discussing things and to making the ideas kind of come to life. Melody said perimenopause. Can this help during this time period? 100%. 100%. Yeah, we work with so many people who have so many different considerations. Most of our people that we work with are women, so menopause, PCOS, all sorts of lipedema. We definitely are friendly to really 99.9% of what's going on for people. Good one, Michelle. Just signed up to the TSC. Can't wait. Rock and roll. That'll be awesome. So if you do sign up, however you sign up, you don't really have to do anything. As a member, I send you a weekly email, and in next week's email, I will just say, I send it every Sunday. I'll be like, okay, here's your workbook, here's the webinar link, here's everything you need to know. And we just go week by week, so it's really, really easy. Oh, and you're super welcome, TN. I'm glad you love following the work. Paula asked, do we have an in-person community? We don't at the moment, Paula, and we actually used to. And so the evolution, I'm aware of everyone's time, so I won't keep us too long, but the evolution of our programs was me doing therapy, me realizing that some of these ideas could be done more broadly, and then we actually had an in-person program. And then we developed the online program to supplement our one-on-one and our in-person stuff. Then COVID came. But I must say that we have put a lot of work and a lot of love into the online program. And the members have also put a lot of work and a lot of love into it. And I actually feel like now, and I'm sure that the members would agree, the online community is actually every bit as special as the face-to-face stuff that we did. So I mean, the jury's still out. I've got 40 chairs that I used to use for our in-person workshops, and I haven't gotten rid of them. They're in one of the offices back there, so they're still there. It's been 5 or 6 years since we've done any in-person workshops or community, but they're still there. Michelle just asked, so I don't need to do anything else to join the challenge? No. As a TSC member, no. You have access to this challenge and everything else in the TSC, but there's nothing to do, nothing extra to do. Because this is the first program we've done in years that you can actually do as a one-off program. Some of our TSC members are like, do I have to sign up for this? It's like, no, you're already signed up for it. Beautiful. Well, guys, thank you so much. Great session. It's been lovely to be here with you all. And again, please congratulate yourselves for taking the time and effort to focus on your own transformations. That just shows you're capable of doing it. Great work, guys. Take care.